The wind was heavy that morning. Not loud, not forceful, just heavy. As if the sky itself was mourning. Black umbrellas bloomed across the cemetery like dead flowers, and the scent of rain mixed with perfume, grief, and secrets. No one spoke above a whisper. No one dared to question the silence, except her. Standing at the edge of the burial tent in 6-inch red heels was a woman no one recognized. She didn't cry. She didn't bow her head. She didn't even pretend to grieve. She simply stood, tall, beautiful, audacious, like she didn't belong there. Because she didn't. Her name was Naya, and everyone would soon learn why she shouldn't have come. But the one who noticed her first wasn't the priest or the family friend, or even the photographer. It was Mama Ijoma, the dead woman's mother. Frail in body but sharp as a lioness, Mama Ijoma's eyes narrowed the second she saw Naya standing beside her son-in-law. "You brought another woman to my daughter's funeral?" she whispered sharply. But Chuka, the husband, just adjusted his collar and looked away. "She's just here to support." "Support!" her voice cracked. "Chuka, is this who you were with while my daughter was dying?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Everyone had heard the rumors before Amara's death. Whispers of betrayal, of coldness in the marriage, of a man who no longer came home on weekends. But Amara had never said a word, not even when her eyes grew dim and her body thin. Not even in the final days, and then she was gone. Sudden illness, the doctor said. A heart that gave out quietly in the night. A peaceful death. But peace doesn't call you at 3 a.m. Peace doesn't leave you gasping, hands gripping your chest, staring at the ceiling with eyes full of rage. That morning, as the priest read Psalm 23, Mama Ijoma's fingers gripped her rosary tighter than ever. Her knuckles white, lips trembling. She knew something wasn't right. A mother always knows, because Amara had called her the night before she died. Just a short voice message. "Mama! If anything happens to me, know that I saw it coming. Don't let him bury me like a trophy. And if she shows up at my funeral, don't let her leave smiling." The voice note had arrived at 2:47 a.m. By 3:12 a.m., Amara was declared dead. And now, here they were. The husband standing with another woman at the foot of the casket. And Mama Ijoma feeling like every bone in her body had been set on fire. But the real fire had yet to begin. The funeral director approached the podium. "Family members, friends, we are gathered today to celebrate the life of Amara Ijoma Chuka, a woman of elegance, strength, and quiet resilience. Before we lower her into the ground, her husband has requested to say a few words." Chuka cleared his throat and stepped forward. His voice sounded smooth, like a man who had rehearsed. "Amara was special," he began. "She was kind, gentle, always put others first." Lies. Mama Ijoma stared at him, watching his lips move like a snake. Watching the mistress beside him nod along as if she had the right. "I regret many things," he continued, lowering his gaze. "And though we had our struggles, Boom! The speakers crackled. A loud pop. Static hissed across the cemetery. The mic died. People gasped. A few looked around. The wind grew stronger. "Sorry, folks, technical glitch," the funeral director mumbled, adjusting the mic. "Please remain seated." But Mama Ijoma didn't sit. She stood, steady, eyes fixed on the casket. She could feel it. She could feel her daughter's spirit wasn't resting. Because this funeral wasn't real. Not fully. There was something else. Then came the sound. So faint, most people didn't hear it. But she did. Tap, tap, tap. From inside the casket. Mama Ijoma gasped and stepped backward. "Did you hear that?" she whispered to the woman beside her. "What?" the guest asked, confused. Another tap. This time louder, like fingers knocking on wood. Tap, tap, tap. Then silence. A silence so deep it pressed on the ears like water. Then the unthinkable happened. The casket, sleek, black, and sealed with chrome handles, shifted. Slightly, as if something inside it had moved. Gasps echoed. The priest dropped his Bible. Then came the sound again, louder, desperate now. Bang, bang, bang! 3 knocks from inside. Someone screamed. The mistress stumbled back. The funeral director ran toward the casket. But it was Mama Ijoma who moved first. With fire in her legs, she marched to the coffin, held the handle, and yelled, "Amara!" And then it happened. The lid shifted, slowly, deliberately, and a hand, pale, trembling, manicured, rose from the casket. Gasps turned into chaos. Chairs toppled. People ran. But Chuka didn't move. He couldn't. He was frozen, staring at the hand of the woman he had buried. The woman he had betrayed. Amara, alive, back, watching. Screams still echoed through the cemetery as people scattered like frightened birds. Phones fell, chairs collapsed, and even the priest dropped to his knees, mumbling a prayer he clearly hadn't used in years. But Chuka, the man at the center of it all, just stood there, staring. His wife's hand gripped the edge of the coffin like a ghost refusing to be forgotten. And then, slowly, Amara rose. Her white burial gown clung to her like a second skin, the veil still draped over her face. Her breath was shallow, her face pale, but her eyes, those eyes burned like coals behind glass. Chuka's lips parted, but no sound came out. "Amara?" he croaked. She didn't speak. She just looked at him, through him. The mistress, Naya, backed away, her expensive heels slipping in the mud. What is this? What kind of sick game is this?" But no one answered her, because no one knew. Not even Mama Ijoma, who stood rooted to the spot, hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her daughter was alive. Somehow. And she was here for something more than just resurrection. The funeral director fainted, just collapsed like a cut rope. Amara stepped out of the casket slowly, her bare feet touching the damp earth. The sound of her steps, soft, deliberate, was louder than any scream. A whisper swept through the crowd that had stopped running, turning instead to watch. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her presence screamed it all. I was never dead. But now someone will wish they were. They didn't go home that day. Police were called. Medics arrived. Cameras were confiscated. The funeral was shut down. But by evening, Amara was gone again. Disappeared. No one knew where she went, not even Mama Ijoma, who was still reeling from the impossible miracle. And Chuka? He didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of the bed in their lavish home, holding a glass of untouched brandy, staring at the wall like it held secrets he didn't want to remember. Naya paced behind him, furious. "This is insane! That was your wife! In the casket, she was declared dead. I saw the death certificate. She was cremated," Chuka muttered. "No!" Naya hissed, her voice sharp. "She wasn't. You insisted on an open casket funeral. You saw her body. You even kissed her forehead." Chuka didn't reply, because deep down, some part of him had always known Amara wasn't just ordinary. She had a way of seeing things, of knowing things before they happened. She had told him once, "The truth always finds a way to rise, even if you bury it under lies." And now here she was, truth personified, risen from a grave he had dug with betrayal. The next day, Chuka received a letter. Not an email, not a call. A handwritten letter sealed with wax and slipped under his door. He opened it with trembling hands. It read, "To the man who stood with another, while I was lowered into the ground. You buried me before I died. Now I'll return the favor. See you at 11:59. There was no name, just a time. 11:59. He stared at the clock on the wall. 9:13 a.m. He had less than 15 hours. Elsewhere in a dim, candlelit room, Amara stood before a mirror. Her burial gown lay folded beside her, and her body was wrapped in a dark shawl. Her eyes were sunken but alive. Behind her stood Kioma, her childhood friend, and the only person who had helped pull this off. "You sure about this?" Kioma asked, voice trembling. "Faking your death was one thing. Coming back like this, at your own funeral, that's something else." Amara didn't blink. "They needed to see. They needed to feel what I felt. You scared the whole city, girl. I hope I scared him more." Chioma sighed. "And what about your mom? You didn't tell her either." Amara turned. The less she knew, the more real her grief looked. I needed every tear to be real. For him. By evening, the house grew colder. Chuka locked all the doors. Naya tried to convince him to leave town, go to the police, call someone. But he refused. "She's my wife," he whispered. "I need to see this through." You sound like a madman, Naya snapped. Chuka finally turned to her, voice low and bitter. You were never supposed to be here. She froze, then scoffed. Excuse me? You were a mistake. A mistake I kept making because I thought she'd never find out. And now that she has, she wants blood. Then I'm leaving, Naya said, grabbing her purse. But when she opened the door, a black envelope lay on the welcome mat. She picked it up, hands shaking. Inside, a note. Mistresses mourn in silence. Yours begins at midnight. The clock hit 11:53 p.m. Rain pounded the windows. Chuka stood alone in the hallway, staring at the front door. No movement. No sound. Then the power cut. Pitch black. The digital clock blinked once, then froze. 11:59. Knock. 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 At the back door. Chuka turned, heart thundering. He walked slowly through the hallway, barefoot. Each step an echo. The doorknob turned by itself. Creak! And there, standing in the darkness, was Amara. She stood in the doorway, soaked in rain and shadows, but very much alive. Amara! The same face Chuka had seen pale in a casket, now glistened with water, hair clinging to her cheeks, lips trembling with breath. Not fear, not weakness, intent. She didn't blink. She didn't speak. Chuka stepped back, heart pounding. How? He whispered, his voice barely holding together. How are you here? Amara stepped inside without permission. The door closed itself behind her. A wind followed her in. You looked peaceful when you kissed my forehead, she said coldly, like a man proud of what he buried. Chuka couldn't move. His back hit the wall. I didn't. You were sick. Amara tilted her head, eyes gleaming. I was poisoned. His stomach dropped. What? I didn't die naturally, Chuka, she said, walking toward him. I drank tea you brought me. Remember? The one you said would help me sleep? He stuttered. I didn't, Amara. No. I woke up underground. Her voice cracked just once. But I didn't panic, because I planned it. Chuka froze. What? Amara took a folded note from her coat and tossed it at him. That's what I gave to Kioma 3 weeks before that night. Read it. He opened it with shaking hands. If anything happens to me, anything unnatural, I want you to do exactly what we discussed. Don't cry, don't scream. Just dig me up and help me breathe again. His hands trembled. You knew? I knew about you and Naya. I knew about the forged death certificate, the fake pills, the night calls. I knew everything. She leaned closer, her eyes burning. You were planning to kill me. Quietly. Like I was an inconvenience. I just gave you the opportunity. Wait, he whispered. You let me think you were dead? No, she said sharply. I let you walk into the trap you built. Lightning flashed behind her. Thunder followed. Chuka turned toward the kitchen. Look, we can talk, please. I didn't mean for this. But you did. Her voice cut clean like a knife. You meant for all of it. You thought she was just your little secret, that I would never find out. You thought I would die quietly. She stepped closer. Now it's your turn. He reached for the door, but the handle burned his palm. He yelped, stepping back. Amara didn't move. Midnight, she whispered. You've got 1 minute left. Suddenly, the lights came back on. The room flickered to life, but she was gone. Vanished. Chuka stumbled into the hallway. Amara! He opened the door. Wind slapped his face. Nothing but rain and silence. But then, a scream from upstairs. Naya! He whispered, and bolted up the stairs 2 steps at a time. He burst into the guest bedroom and found her curled in the corner, sobbing, mascara dripping down her face. What happened? He shouted. She was here, Naya cried. She was in the mirror, behind me. I turned around and she was gone. You're seeing things, he muttered, his hands shaking. You're just scared. Of course I'm scared, she screamed. Your dead wife is playing games with us. He stared at her, then turned to the mirror and paused. There was a message written across the glass in fog. 11:59. Over and over, again and again. Until you learn. Chuka's face paled. He backed away slowly. He had to get out. He ran to his car, yanked the keys from the counter, and Naya followed him. We need to leave, she cried. But when they reached the garage, the car was gone. Not stolen, just gone. like it had never been parked there. What is happening? Naya screamed. Chuka grabbed her arm. I don't know. I don't know anymore. The house lights began flickering. The television turned on by itself. Static. Then a photo appeared. A wedding photo. Their wedding. But Amara was gone from the frame. Only Chuka stood there. Alone. Suddenly, the walls groaned. The floorboards creaked, and the bedroom door slammed shut. They ran back into the hallway, but it felt like the house was shrinking, twisting. Every clock in the house blinked the same time. 11:59. 11:59. 11:59. Even the microwave. Even the broken alarm clock in the guest room. She's not going to stop, Naya whispered. She's going to kill us. No, Chuka said. She's going to make us suffer. He turned to Naya. There's something I didn't tell you. What? There's someone who helped me. She blinked. What do you mean? I wasn't the only one who wanted Amara out of the picture. Her lips parted. Who else? But before he could answer, the lights shattered. All of them. Darkness swallowed the house. And then, a voice, soft, in both their ears. Time's up. The voice came from nowhere, yet it echoed everywhere, like it was inside their heads, dripping down their spines, slithering into their bones. Naya screamed. Chuka grabbed her arm, dragging her into the hallway. The house trembled, not violently, but rhythmically, like a heart, like something alive was breathing beneath the walls. Every photo frame on the wall shattered, glass raining down around them. In every photo, Amara's image had disappeared, cropped out, erased. Where do we go? Naya cried, trembling. The church, Chuka gasped. We have to go to the church. They stumbled outside into the rain. The yard was fogged. The gate stood open, wide, like it had been waiting. As they ran through it, Chuka looked back one last time. There she stood. Amara, in the upstairs window. White dress, black eyes, watching. He turned and ran faster. The church was silent, almost too silent. They burst in, soaked, breathless. Chuka rushed toward the altar, yelling for the priest. Father! Father Nkem! Please! Footsteps echoed from the back. The priest appeared, candle in hand. His eyes narrowed. You again? Please, Chuka said, falling to his knees. She's alive. I don't know how. She's not right. She's after me. The priest stared. You said your wife died of illness. Now you say she's alive? She rose from the casket. She's tormenting me. The clocks, the lights, the house. It's her. Father Nkem exhaled slowly. You didn't come here when you cheated. You didn't come when you buried her like a lie. Now you come for help because your sins have a face. I didn't kill her, Chuka snapped. The priest stepped forward. No, but you tried. Silence. Chuka's eyes widened. The priest smiled slightly. You forget, son? Your wife came to me. 3 months ago. She told me everything. She told me about the poison, the mistress, the forged will. Naya gasped. She asked me to fake the final rites. I agreed, because the God I serve does not protect the wicked. Chuka stumbled back. You helped her? She is the daughter of a praying mother, the priest said calmly, and heaven does not take kindly to women buried by betrayal. Suddenly, the church doors slammed shut. Boom! The candles flickered. A cold wind whipped through the pews. The lights above the altar exploded. And standing there, in front of the crucifix, was Amara. But this was not the Amara of earth. Her eyes glowed faintly. Her feet hovered inches above the ground. Her voice, when it came, sounded like 2 voices layered into one, hers and something older. I died the day you stopped loving me, she whispered. This body is not the one you buried. This soul is not the one you betrayed. Naya screamed and fell to her knees. I'm sorry! I didn't know! I thought he said you were gone. I didn't mean... You were a willing secret, Amara said coldly. You sat at my funeral in my perfume, wearing my scent, standing beside the man who wanted my silence. She reached out one hand, not toward Naya, but toward Chuka. You will feel what it means to be forgotten, to be erased. Chuka stepped back. Please, please, Amara. Don't beg me, she hissed. You didn't beg when you handed me my last cup of tea. The priest turned to her. Daughter, this is not the way. But Amara's eyes softened only for a second. I asked for justice, she said. not vengeance, but the devil who followed me into the grave. Only speaks in screams. She raised her hand again. Suddenly, Chuka fell to the floor, convulsing. He clutched his head, screaming. Blood dripped from his nose. His eyes turned upward, veins bulging in his neck. "Stop!" Naya shrieked. "He's dying!" Amara turned to her. "Then let him die." But then, a voice broke the silence. "Amara." It was Mama Ijoma. She stood at the back of the church, holding a lantern. "Amara, my daughter, you are not vengeance. You are light." Amara froze. The wind stopped. The candles burned steady. "Your father died in anger," Mama Ijoma said, walking forward. "Don't let anger bury you too." Amara's lip trembled. "Mama!" "Come back, my child. Come back to peace." Tears welled in Amara's eyes. Her body began to lower. Her hands dropped to her sides. Chuka lay sobbing on the floor, still shaking. "I just wanted him to feel what I felt," she whispered. "And he will," Mama said, "for the rest of his life." Amara collapsed into her mother's arms, sobbing. The lights returned. The church fell silent once more. And just like that, she was gone again. It's been 3 months since the funeral that never really was. The internet called it the resurrection wedding, before the footage was wiped. Some claimed it was a hoax. Others said Amara was a witch. But those who were there knew what they saw, and they never forgot. As for Chuka, he survived, but something in him didn't. He walks slower now, doesn't speak much, avoids mirrors, sleeps with the lights on, and every night, at exactly 11:59 p.m., he wakes up in a cold sweat. Doctors say it's PTSD, but he knows better, because even though Amara disappeared, the clocks in his house still blink the same numbers every night. 11:59, a reminder, a countdown, a curse. He lives alone now. Naya left the very next week, packed her bags in the middle of the night, and vanished. No note, no goodbye. They say she flew to Ghana and hasn't spoken to anyone since. Some say she got married. Others say she hasn't been seen at all. Mama Ijoma visits the church every Friday now. She sits in the third pew on the left and lights a candle. Not for mourning, but for gratitude. Her daughter survived something not many do. Betrayal, spiritual death, erasure. And came out with her soul still intact. At least mostly. Because no one knows where Amara is. No trace, no news, no sightings. Just stories. Some say she now lives in a quiet coastal village, helping abused women escape their pasts. Others believe she joined a prayer convent, surrendering her pain in exchange for silence. But a few believe something else entirely, that she walks the earth still, not as a ghost, but as a shadow. A lesson. A whisper to those who live double lives. A warning for the men who bury their wives with lies, and for the women who help them dig. But this story isn't about curses or revenge. Not really. It's about what happens when love turns quiet. When a woman who gave everything starts to disappear, piece by piece, under the weight of betrayal. It's about a man who thought silence meant safety, and a mistress who mistook absence for opportunity. But above all, it's about a woman who refused to stay buried. A woman who turned her funeral into her rebirth. Who clawed her way back to the surface, not just to survive, but to speak. To say, "You don't get to write the end of my story. Not when you never deserved to hold the pen." Chuka now lives in a small flat. No photos on the wall, no visitors, no mirrors. Just silence, and one sealed box. Inside it, the white dress she rose in, the death certificate he forged, and a note written in Amara's handwriting. He's read it 1,000 times, but he still flinches at the last line. Forgiveness is not the absence of consequence. Sometimes, it is the mercy of letting you live with what you've done. Every time he opens his eyes at 11:59, he hears a sound. Not loud, not violent, just a knock. Soft, distant, like fingers tapping on the inside of a casket. Tap, tap, tap. And in the silence that follows, he sometimes swears he hears her voice. Just one line. "Still watching." This story isn't just horror. It's truth dressed in shadows. Sometimes the people we betray come back, not to haunt us with ghosts, but to show us what happens when we try to bury what we refuse to face. Never ignore your instincts. Never romanticize betrayal. And never ever attend a funeral with secrets in your heart, Because some graves don't stay closed forever.